He was found on the side of a road in Philadelphia. A little boy, 4 years old, naked, beaten, wrapped in a blanket and placed inside a cardboard box. No one reported him missing. No one came to identify him. His face was put on posters across the city. His image was distributed to hundreds of thousands of people. For 65 years, nobody came. America's Unknown Child. February 25, 1957. Northeast Philadelphia, the Fox Chase neighborhood. A man walking along Susquehanna Road noticed a large cardboard box in the undergrowth beside the road. It was a J.C. Penney bassinet box, the kind used to ship baby furniture. Inside the box, a small child, male, wrapped in a tartan blanket, naked beneath it. He was somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. His body showed signs of severe and repeated physical abuse. He was badly malnourished. His hair had been recently and crudely cut, as if someone had tried to alter his appearance in the days before his death. He had been beaten to death. The medical examiner estimated he had been dead for approximately 2 to 3 days when he was found. Police arrived and began what would become one of the longest and most haunting investigations in American criminal history. They had one immediate question. Who is this child? That question would take 65 years to answer. From the very first day, investigators were struck by something deeply disturbing beyond the violence. Nobody had reported this boy missing. Not one person in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania or anywhere in the United States had filed a missing persons report for a child matching his description. He did not exist on paper. No birth certificate was immediately found. No school records, no medical records, no social security number. He was a child who had been entirely invisible to the world while he was alive. Police created a flyer with the forensic reconstruction of his face. They distributed it across the city, in shops, on telephone poles, in newspapers, by mail, thousands of flyers, then tens of thousands. Eventually, in the decades that followed, his image would appear on milk cartons distributed across America. Investigators followed thousands of leads. They interviewed hundreds of people. They exhumed his body twice, in 1998 and again in 2019, hoping that advancing technology could give them answers. Nothing worked. His body was buried in a potter's field, an unmarked grave for the unclaimed. The headstone eventually placed there read, simply, America's Unknown Child. That was how the world knew him for 65 years. Investigators had very little to work with. But what they had, they studied meticulously. The bassinet box had originally been sold at a J.C. Penney store. Investigators traced every box of that type sold in the Philadelphia area, but could not narrow it down to a specific buyer. The tartan blanket the boy was wrapped in, its origin was never established. His hair had been recently cut with what appeared to be household scissors, roughly and without care, in the days before his death. Some investigators believe this was done specifically to make him harder to identify. His fingernails were clean and trimmed. Despite his severe malnourishment and the evidence of ongoing abuse, someone had maintained basic hygiene. The boy had a scar on his left ankle and another on his chin from what appeared to be previous injuries that had healed, meaning he had been living with abuse for some time. He had eaten a full meal recently. His stomach contents showed he had been fed shortly before his death. Someone had cared enough to feed him, and then killed him. A woman contacted police in the 1960s and claimed to know the boy's identity. She said he had been purchased from his biological mother by a woman she knew, that he had been essentially bought and sold. Philadelphia police investigated her claim for years. They were never able to confirm or deny it. The lead was never fully closed. Generations of Philadelphia detectives worked this case. Officers who had been first on scene in 1957 never stopped thinking about the boy in the box. Bill Kelly, who took the child's fingerprints at the scene, told his family the image never left him. He saw that face every time he closed his eyes. He worked the case until his death without ever knowing the answer. His granddaughter said, "He never forgot about that image. How could you?" The case became something larger than a single investigation. It became a symbol of a child failed by every system that should have protected him, of the limits of law enforcement when a victim had been made deliberately invisible. The Vidocq Society, a group of retired forensic experts and law enforcement professionals, took on the case in the 1990s and worked it for years. They produced no breakthrough. In 2019, his body was exhumed again. DNA was extracted. The profile was entered into national databases. The technology had finally caught up to the case. 3 years later, in December 2022, investigators made an announcement. Using forensic genetic genealogy, DNA cross-referenced against genealogy databases, investigators identified the boy's biological family. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. He was born on January 13, 1953, in Philadelphia. He was 4 years old when he died. His parents, Mary Elizabeth Abel and Augustus John Zarelli, had both died decades earlier, in 1991 and 2014, respectively. They never faced justice. They never had to answer for what happened to their son. Joseph had never been issued a Social Security number. No missing persons report had ever been filed for him. He had existed entirely outside official records, invisible in life, invisible in death. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw said at the press conference, "For 65 years, the story of America's unknown child has haunted this community, the Philadelphia Police Department, our nation, and the world. When people think about the boy in the box, a profound sadness is felt, not just because the child was murdered, but because his entire identity and his rightful claim to his own existence was taken away. The homicide investigation remains open. No one has ever been charged with Joseph's murder. In 2024, the headstone at his grave in Ivy Hill Cemetery was replaced. For the first time in 67 years, it bore a name: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. He was 4 years old. Here is what we know about the 4 years Joseph Augustus Zarelli was alive. He was born in West Philadelphia in January 1953. He lived entirely outside the systems designed to protect children. No school, no doctor, no record of his existence. He was abused over a period of time that left healed scars on his body alongside fresh injuries. In his final days, someone cut his hair, perhaps to disguise him. Someone fed him a full meal. Someone wrapped him in a blanket. And then someone put him in a cardboard box and left him on the side of a road. Nobody reported him missing. Nobody came to claim him. Nobody who knew what had happened to him ever came forward. For 65 years, he was nobody's child. A headstone that said America's unknown child in a cemetery in Philadelphia. Science gave him his name back. His parents are gone. The person or people who killed him have never been identified. The case is still open. The murder is still unsolved. But the grave in Ivy Hill Cemetery now bears the name he was born with, the name that was taken from him before he could even speak it. Joseph Augustus Zarelli. This was Case Zero.